You ever get a water bill so high you double-check if you've been irrigating the Sahara? That's what happened to me one Thursday morning, staring at a crisp, city-issued invoice for $438.76, 13 times my usual. I live in Marigold Hills, a quiet, HOA-controlled neighborhood where grass height is regulated more strictly than most traffic laws. But this bill felt like a declaration of war. I walked outside, expecting to find a burst pipe or a geyser in my yard. Instead, I found every sprinkler on my property, front, back, and even the side strip, running full blast in broad daylight. They were set to go off only at night, twice a week. Something was wrong. I checked my smart sprinkler app. The schedule was intact. No overrides, no glitches. I turned everything off from my phone, and within seconds, the sprinklers shut down. It didn't make sense. The next morning, they were back on again. It became a pattern. Every night I'd turn them off, and by morning, they were running again, like a botanical fountain show. So I set up a hidden security camera in a birdhouse on my porch. What I captured made my jaw hit the floor. At 2:43 a.m., the Ho president, Brenda Mallory, snuck onto my property wearing black sweats, gardening gloves, and a headlamp. She pulled out her phone, tapped on something, and within seconds, every sprinkler on my property roared to life. She stood there, arms crossed, watching it flood for 5 minutes, then walked away. I couldn't believe it. This woman, the same one who fined my neighbor $200 for planting sunflowers without HOA approval, had been sabotaging my water system. Turns out, she'd gotten access to the shared control panel during a landscaping inspection weeks earlier, when she insisted on inspecting my sprinkler box for safety compliance. She'd copied the override code from the installer's tag. So why was she doing this? I got my answer 2 days later at the monthly home meeting. Brenda, standing smugly in front of the crowd, announced a new emergency landscaping ordinance, requiring homeowners whose water usage exceeded a certain threshold to pay a penalty fee to the Ho, a fee determined, coincidentally, by Brenda herself. Guess who was the first and only person on that list? Me. I raised my hand and asked what gave her the authority to enforce fines based on private utilities. She claimed it wasn't a new amendment, passed unanimously, which no one remembered voting on. She waved a stapled packet in the air, thick with legal-looking jargon and a fake chart showing neighborhood water abuse trends. The room went silent. That night, I dug deeper. I pulled the Ho charter, reviewed the bylaws, and contacted the city's water department. I even requested all billing records for the neighborhood of public documents. By the way, what I found was wild. In the past for months, Brenda had issued 7 similar water abuse fines, all to residents who'd previously opposed her on minor issues, including one elderly couple who refused to pay her nephew's landscaping company to trim their bushes. And guess where the fines were going? Not to the HOA's main account, but into a separate slush fund titled Landscape Restoration Project. That account was tied to a private bank account in Brenda's name. I printed everything, organized it into a binder, and showed up to the next home meeting early. When it started, I waited until new business came up, then raised my hand and said calmly, I have something the entire neighborhood might want to see. I handed out copies of the binder. Brenda's face turned the color of raw hamburger meat as people flipped through the documents. Gasps echoed through the room as they saw the camera screenshots, the bank records, the forged amendments, and the water bills. One neighbor stood up and said, "This isn't just shady. This is theft." Brenda tried to defend herself, stammering about misunderstandings and overreach, but no one was buying it. Her own vice president, Dale Rogers, announced they'd be holding an emergency vote of no confidence, effective immediately. The vote was 23-0. Brenda was removed on the spot. And then came the real fun. With the help of another homeowner, an accountant, we submitted all findings to the state's HOA regulatory board and the county. 3 weeks later, Brenda was charged with fraud, misappropriation of funds, and trespassing. She took a plea deal, 1-year probation, full restitution of $19,845 to the HOA, and mandatory community service, which, ironically, Included maintaining the very lawns she once ruled with an iron hose. Asterisk, the new Ho board abolished the water abuse fines, reinstated a democratic amendment process, and banned any board member from holding financial control without third-party oversight. Asterisk, as for me, I replaced the birdhouse cam with a hummingbird feeder and finally got that peaceful yard I paid for. Asterisk, and every time I see Brenda weeding the median in her orange vest, I smile, sip my iced tea, and think, asterisk all that over. A $38 water bill.